Hi, I'm Noreen Lace. I'm the author of Eddy. Um, Eddy is a fictional account of an actual event in Edgar Allan Poe's life. In 1848, he bought 2 bottles of laudanum, it is thought, for the purpose of committing suicide. This story is the imagining of what might have happened that night to him. So I'm going to read the first chapter to you. I hope you enjoy it. He stumbles from the pub, slips and falls on the iced over bricks of Boston's November streets. Save for the muddled voices beyond the closed door, the street is quiet as his body thuds to the ground. His breath billows in front of him as he gasps and grumbles and struggles to his knees, then his feet, to regain his drunken balance. The gas lamp on the corner offers a wavering yellow glow for the struggling figure on the lonely winter night. Thin strands of hair blow in the chilled breeze. He runs his hand over his head, straightens himself before he pulls at the sagging overcoat and buttons it up. Remembering the tinctures of laudanum, pried from the chary pharmacist, he hurriedly shoves his hands in his pockets, retrieves the bottles. His heavy breath mounds in front of him, and for a moment he can't see. Then the luminous cloud of brandy-scented air dissipates. The medicines are intact. Relieved, he stuffs them back in his pocket and tugs his jacket closed. Edgar, someone calls from the corner. The noise from the pub trails the swarthy figure out until the door slams closed behind him. You all right? Edgar waves him off without turning around. The thick shadow chuckles as he staggers in the opposite direction. The winter is freezing cold, but the snow hasn't endured. Small white crystals pile in corners and seem to fill the air. The icy rain soaks him before he reaches the chamber on the second floor of his rooming house. The room is small, impersonal, but warmer than the street. An unlit lantern shimmies on the desk as he unsteadily seats himself, glances out the window. A barely discernible outline disquiets the otherwise muted darkness on the corner of the street below. He knows it's the black dog that stalked him his whole life. Suddenly angered, he shoves himself forward, pushes the unlit lamp aside, and topples the ink jar. Get out of here, you wretched creature, the incensed command lost in the night. Recovering the secreted bottles of opium from his coat pocket, he sets them side by side in front of him. Unsteadily, he tugs the lid from one and snorts a single gulp. The tonic soothes his racing mind, slows the raging blood. He leans back in the chair, allows his fingers to linger on the beaten old wood of the writing table. The puddled black ink pools before it tendrils out in spidery webs. As his breath smooths to a measured plodding, the black ink recasts to red. The splatters of bright red spatters on the sweat-soaked sheets of his mother, the sprays of crimson on the tender white fingers of his wife as she plays the ivory keys of the piano. He pushes his fingers through the mire. The blood and blackness race up his arm, overtake him, swallow him. Inside a cask, a coffin, he is buried. He claws and kicks at the wood before he hears the sweet harmony of his mother's voice. Eddy, Eddy, honey. Her voice is music and laughter. The melody courses through his body alongside the drug, stirs each blood cell, excites every nerve ending until he feels more alive than he's ever felt. The clack of heeled shoes on the wooden floor, tin makeup compacts clink on the vanity, handheld mirrors clap the dressing tables. The once familiar hustle of the backstage theater work their way into his sodden brain. She's with him. He's a child on her small warm lap with her gentle arms around him. Her soft pink lips brush the back of his head. He feels warm and loved and protected. A boy of 2, he watches his mother pat rouge on her dove-like skin. She's hot too, a boiler around him. Her hard-won breath is sour with sickness. She coughs and sets him down. His shoes snap on the old oak floorboards. He waits. The rising thunder of theater goers filters back as a man calls out too loud, 5 minutes! The ladies help his petite mother into her costume, fasten it. Near barking, she tries to push the rasp from her throat before the play begins. She wipes her mouth. The familiar ruby splash left on the cloth lay on the dressing table in front of him. The rouge fades into her sallow skin. She applies more, then tints her lips. Be a good boy for Mama. Watch Rosalie. She leans down and kisses his forehead. Her fevered lips sear his skin. Her eyes sparkle with the glow of joyful angels, but the ashen irises betray a lost and frightened soul in the mist. She is always like this, for as long as he remembers. Her snowy skin, her pallid eyes, the tint of rose always about her mouth. Somewhere, somehow, there is always the trace of red. He glances at the small wooden cradle where the baby sleeps before following his mother to the stage door. The lights are low. The great breaths and small whispers of the audience's anticipation fills the Richmond Theater. This is his favorite moment, the dimmed hall, the bated snuffle of anticipation, and the indistinct outlines of the actors in place. Then the gas lamps pop, voices vibrate, the reanimation of life as the spectators focus on his mother. He has spent his young life here, half in the shadows, observing one play or another from the side stage. It's an odd view. People speak to one another for an audience he rarely glimpses, but they never speak to him, never look at him. He is a lone voyeur, invisible to all, until he catches the wink of his mother's eye just before she turns away. The excitement of passion fills the stage and words float through the air. They mingle in storm-like fashion and drain down the stairs in front of him. He steps back, mesmerized by the spectacle. When it's over, the laughter, tears, exhales, the applause, always the applause, the overflow of emotions from the audience brought on by the actors. It's a sweet allocation of control by performer to viewer. They bow. His mother nearly falters before her 2 co-stars catch her, hold her. They bend again. The curtain descends, and she returns to him. Tonight, they help her off stage and into the chair in front of the old gilt mirror. She's still asleep, Elizabeth. One of the actresses checks on Rosalie. She's such a quiet baby. Hardly ever cries. His mother's voice is soft and low, hides the strain. In the midnight, the baby in one arm, Edgar's hands in the other, she walks through the near-empty streets of Virginia's autumn. The trees lit with bright fire of colors during the day turn beige and brown in the bleak night. They fight against the early cold spell, up 2 flights of stairs to their tiny room above the city. The air is more chilled inside than out. His mother lays down. Her cough comes in sanguine spurts, not like the tinted lipstick or the rouge that colors her cheek, but bright like the lingering rays of sunset on an autumn evening, just before it all turns brown and stains the earth, stains the sheets. Come here, the serene chime of her whispers caress him, my bonny little boy. Her hot touch sears his skin as she urges him in bed next to her. The fire of her body warms him on this brisk October night. And just before her gasps wane, before he cascades into slumber, Edgar recognizes the first rays of daylight as they stretch into the horizon to trace the ebony night. Eddy, no, her murmur dissolves into the rain pulsing on the window. Mother, he whispers as he raises his head, reaches his blood-covered hand out in front of him. He smashes his fist down on the desk. The ink stains his fingers as he claws the wood, tries to scratch his way out of the dream. Mother, he whispers again with finality. His eyes adjust to the simmering room as he searches for the opium that will, if not bring his mother back to him, take him to her. He wrenches the cork top and gulps. Life be damned. Thank you for joining me for chapter 1 of Eddy. I'll be back and I'll read chapter 2 to you. So maybe like or follow or do whatever you need to do if you'd like to hear chapter 2. Thanks so much for joining me tonight.